Yes, welcome everybody to the Sheffield United Way. And today we are giving our player ratings for our third victory in a row. The third game in a row where we have scored 3 goals, which is lovely to see after the start of this season. But this one, maybe not quite as easy as the 2 that came before it. Obviously, it was a demolition of Wednesday. It was easy against Portsmouth. This one looked like being potentially the easiest of the lot. United 3-0 up at half-time after what was quite frankly an unbelievable 45 minutes. We were in dreamland, 2 up in the first 5 minutes. We had just absolutely destroyed what little confidence Leicester had, and we got the entire ground turning on their team. However, the second half was the complete antithesis of that. United seemed to be the team on the ropes, the team who looked most like crumbling, and Leicester came at us with everything they got from an attacking standpoint. We had been well on top. They had been told they weren't fit to wear the shirt, but all of a sudden it was tense, it was nervy, but United did hang on. And I think that's massive for the kind of mentality for going forwards. We didn't throw this one away, even though the chips were down, even when the going got tough, we managed to stick it out. And so that is really impressive and really important. I think this is probably our best result of the season so far. Just a fantastic result away at Leicester, one of the most fancied teams in the division, one of the most talented squads in the division. We have to take that. But we have to now get into our player ratings, and they're a mixed bag, as you would probably expect after a Jekyll and Hyde performance the way that we've just seen it. And we start with the most negative of the bunch, don't we, really? Michael Cooper in goal, it's a 2. And the reason that it's 2 is that, look, if we're being honest, Cooper has had a really poor season. I was really hoping that we'd turned a corner the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, we'd kept him well protected. We'd made sure he had nothing to do in the majority of games. You know, it had been completely dead against Wednesday. I don't think he had a save to make. Against Portsmouth, he maybe had 1 save from distance. We had done everything that we could to stop him being under too much pressure. And you know what else? We did that again today. He had nothing to do in this game against Leicester, and yet he has given away 2 goals. It's a cross in the box that he gets all wrong. I don't even know what he's trying to do. Is he coming to try and catch it? If so, that's terrible decision making because he was nowhere near it. I don't understand what he thought he was trying to do in this situation. It's a terrible error, and it gave Leicester their way back into this game. If Cooper just does his normal job, we're still 3-0 up. They don't get the first goal. The pressure doesn't mount. We don't start to get worried and nervous and tense. It's just very easy and breezy. But he does make the error, and that gets United into a bit of a mess. He then follows it up, and, you know, some people will disagree with this. But for me, that second goal is just as bad as the first. I can't believe he doesn't save it. It is straight down the middle of the net. Look, the ball moves and swerves. Don't get me wrong. You can see that it's moving in the air. But it's straight down the middle of the net. He can see it all the way. There's not bodies in the way. It's not that he sees it late. It's not deflected. He literally just doesn't even move for it. I think it's unbelievably poor goalkeeping, and I expect so much better from somebody who I talk up as being the best goalkeeper in the Championship. He almost threw away this game for us today. And so, look, it's not writing him off, but it is recognising that to this point, he's had a really poor season. We need him to get back up to his best. We need him on form. On his day, I maintain what I said. He is the best keeper in this division. Hopefully, we will see him find that form again. He will show his class again. But right now, he is a bit of a problem. He's better than any other alternative. Don't get me wrong. We've seen what Adam Davies does. And we have to go with Michael Cooper for better or for worse. But he has to do better than he's done in this game today. Into the defence, though, we'll start with 𝗞𝗵𝗴 𝗕𝗍. I've given 𝗤𝗍 a 5, and it's because that Jekyll and Hyde almost feels like it goes exactly with 𝗤𝗍's performance. I thought his work for the first goal, let's just focus on that for a moment, because that is fantastic. He is pressing high. He's backing up Brooks to make sure that we've got that kind of second body in there. So if Brooks can't win the tackle, then 𝗤𝗍 is always going to be there taking advantage of any of those mistakes that are forced. He then dribbles past a couple of players with great footwork. Yes, the pass isn't perfect. It's more knocked into a good space, but it creates the goal, and it is really good play from him. It's fantastic to see, and hopefully we'll see more of that going forward. I think since he's come into the team, we've been a better side because he can bring this kind of attacking intent. However, we then look at the second half, And I thought he began to have a little bit of a poor afternoon defensively. 𝗣𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍 is one of the best wingers in the league. We know that. But he was getting the better of 𝗍𝗍, I thought, time and again through the second half. A lot of their threat came down the wings whenever they were looking to create. It was usually one of their wingers getting in behind the fullback. And I thought it was 𝗵𝗲𝗍 who was doing that more often than the lad on the far side for 𝗤𝗏. And so, yeah, I also think, and look, I've already said it clearly, the goal is Cooper's fault, but it is 𝗍𝗍 he has the mix-up with. They're not right positionally. One ends up in the way of the other, and that's what creates the opportunity for the open goal for him to head in at the back post. So for that reason, he's been knocked down just a little bit, and it's Femi 𝗍𝗍 with a 5 from me. Moving into the middle, and Japhet Tanganga, I've given a 7. So it's a 7 for Tanganga because, you know, I've reflected it at the start. We limited Leicester to almost nothing. Their goals have come from 2 big mistakes. And I think having Tanganga back in his natural centre-back position, it just means that we are keeping everybody to almost nothing. He's dominant up against any attacker that he's facing at the moment. And I think it was a really strong performance from him. So I've got a 7 for Tanganga. 𝗵𝗵𝗲, 6. So I've given 𝗵𝗵𝗲 a 6 because basically exactly the same thing I said about Tanganga, except in the second half, once Jordan Ayew had come onto the pitch, I thought he was getting in behind me once or twice down that left-hand side. I thought me as well was the recipient of a really strong penalty shout. I think he shouldered it. I don't think it was handball, but there was a couple of nervy moments in there where Ayew looked like he could get the better of him. So slightly less than his defensive partner, but still a very good performance and a continuing development of this excellent centre-back partnership between Tanganga and me. Left back, Harrison Burrows, 7 for me. I think that this was a really good return to the team from Burrows. I think for 𝗤𝗏 is one of the best players in the division. And actually, I think when we look at this game, most of the threat came down 𝗵𝗲𝗍𝗍's side. They were trying to funnel the play onto their left because they knew they were getting no change out of Burrows. He made sure that 𝗤𝗏 was quiet for almost the entire game, other than the one hopeful cross, which did create the first goal. But not really because of the quality of the cross, let's be honest there. And so he's not the same player as last season. He's still got development to go to get back to his best. But I thought this was a much improved performance from what we've seen for Burrows so far this year. And so it's a 7 from me. 𝗍𝗍, I'm going with an 8. And mainly because what a goal he has scored there today. I mean, the ball is coming out of the sky and you see this time and time again. It is dropping and they smash it over into the crowd. It is dropping and they hit the defender straight in front of them. It is dropping and they just air kick it and miss it altogether, but not for 𝗍𝗍. You can see the confidence that is flowing through this man after getting the goal. It's almost as if a weight has been lifted from him. When the ball drops, he strikes it perfectly, thunders it into the corner. A fantastic goal. And actually, 𝗍 now looks like a player who is finding his confidence, and that's something that I love to see because a confident 𝗍𝗍 is a really good central midfielder, and hopefully we're going to get to see that again. So, on to his midfield partner, and Jairo Riedewald has got a 7 from me. And, you know, it's the same comments. What a goal from Jairo. He's not even looking at the net when he's popping it in. I joke, of course, but I think he did continue his really impressive run of that form in midfield since the international break. That partnership with 𝗍, I've talked there about 𝗍 getting his confidence back. How much of that confidence do we think comes from having a solid, secure, quiet leader stood next to him? Basically, 𝗍𝗵𝗲𝗍 last season was the leader in our midfield who did the defensive dirty work that we needed somebody to pick up. Now Jairo Riedewald is doing that work. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he's as good as 𝗍𝗵𝗲𝗍, but he's proving a really good partner for 𝗍𝗍. I really like what we're seeing from him, and the sooner we can get him signed onto a longer-term contract, the better, because for me right now, one of the most important names on the team sheet. Into the attacking midfield places. And first of all, what I will say is if you keep hearing the noise that's coming from behind me, it's the dog. Don't know why she's making that noise. She probably wants some food. I'll be able to sort that in just a couple of moments. But Andre Brooks is our next player up. And for Andre Brooks, I've given him a 6. He played a huge role in the first goal. And I think this is really what's so interesting about Andre Brooks right now is that his defensive numbers are incredible. He does so well in terms of ball recoveries, in terms of winning his tackles. And that actually creates this goal here. He pressed really high, really quickly. He won the ball 2 or 3 times. But once he got the ball at his feet, he was really struggling to get past his man and create. He needed 𝗍𝗍 to come in, take that ball forward and really create the goal. But it doesn't happen without that excellent work rate, the excellent pressing from Andre Brooks. However, I do think as the game went on, we needed an outball. We needed our wingers to be offering a little bit more, and we needed them to be trying to find space in behind Leicester, because as they pressed onto us, there was so much space for us to be using in and behind them, and we just never really got there. And I think that should have been Brooks' role in this game. So it's a 6 from me, because I'd just like to see a bit more from him still on the ball in terms of actual game chances and creation. And I don't know why I threw the word game in there, but it's what we do. So next to him, Callum O'Hare. And for Callum O'Hare, I have given him a 7. Look, against Portsmouth, it wasn't an assist. It's on his record. It was not an assist for the 𝗣𝗿𝗲𝗻𝗿 goal, but it absolutely was an assist for the Tom Cannon goal, and he won't get that because in the middle, he's the one who's battling away. Yes, he can't sort his feet out in order to get the shot off himself, but he wins it back in the opposition box, which allows Cannon to then be able to get on the end of it and smash it home. He also gets a fantastic assist that should have been a goal for 𝗍𝗿𝗲𝗷's goal, where he smashes it off the back of him, deflected into the corner. It is another one of those where it's racking up the goal contributions now for the season. And Callum O'Hare really is having a fantastic run right now in terms of being Sheffield United's most important player. I thought he dropped out of the game second half, similar to what I said about Brooks. Would have liked to see more from him trying to get behind the Leicester defence. But overall, a really good game from him again, and just cements himself as our MVP right now. Into the strikers now. And for me, Tom Cannon, it's a 7. So it's back-to-back weekends where we are celebrating a Tom Cannon goal for Sheffield United. Is he finally coming into a little bit of form? Are we seeing the striker that we thought we were signing this time last year? This was a real poacher's goal. He made sure he followed up Callum O'Hare's intensity, made sure that if there were any scraps to be picked up, he was the man who did it. So it was a really confident finish as well, blasted into the back of the goal, and he will love that. So important for him going back to his old team. He will think they didn't give him a proper chance. Well, he showed them today what they are missing. I also think him getting that first goal was really important psychologically, because I think that helped their crowd turn just that little bit faster. So even not just the goal, but the impact he had on the wider game was cemented in that moment. But I also think there's a lot of potential in this partnership he's got with Cannon. I really like his movement in the front too. And I do think that he's starting to be a bit of a problem for defenders. I really like to see it. And hopefully we will see more of that going forward, and he will continue to develop in a red and white shirt. 𝗍𝗿𝗲 Campbell, and he's usually the main man up front, but today thought he struggled. I'm giving him a 6. I thought he always looked dangerous on the counter. And as I've said, I think the link-up play and the way that he can sort of exchange runs with Cannon is really important. But when the chances came his way today, he just wasn't at his best in terms of taking them. He had 2 really good ones. One that just flashed across the face of goal at the end of the first half. That would have been the killer to put us 4-0 up. But it wasn't a bad game. I really like what I'm seeing, but it was just a bit quieter from Campbell today. Would like to see a bit more. So I've given him a 6. That brings us to the manager. And Chris Wilder, I've found this a really hard one. I've seen lots of chat as well with my friends, with what's going on online. I've given Chris Wilder a 6 for this game. And that's because he got absolutely everything right from the start. If I was marking the first half, I might have even gone as far as to give him a 9, maybe even a 10, because I thought he played it perfectly. He got the team on the front foot in terms of attacking positions. He made sure we pressed the centre-halves and the right back where we knew they got errors, and we knew Leicester made repeated mistakes in terms of giving the ball away. He knew they'd be low on confidence after midweek's hammering at the hands of Southampton, and he set us up perfectly to take advantage of what they're bad at and to put all of the pressure on them so that we were well ahead in this game. However, in the second half. Now, I will preface all of this by saying it is not Chris Wilder's fault that Michael Cooper makes the errors that he does. He can't take responsibility for that. They're freak things that happen. However, once those mistakes had happened, we had to react to them. Leicester had made subs at half-time. They'd made big changes in the way they were trying to play to try and get on the front foot and push United back. We tried to counter that 2 or 3 times, and if I'm honest, I never felt it worked. Every time we made subs, felt like we took a step backwards closer to our own goal, invited more and more pressure. Whether that was the transition from 4-5-1, whether it was then the transition to 5-4-1, all of those meant we were moving further and further towards our own goal, and it actually allowed Leicester to get a real stranglehold on this game. The subs he made meant we had nobody up front that could hold the ball up and really interlink play to take pressure off. So it was just a constant wave after wave of attacks. We saw it out, which is fantastic, and I absolutely love to see it. But I don't want to see us taking those backward steps in future, because I do think it really helped Leicester, and we lost control of this game from a period of absolute confidence, and that is a little bit worrying. But let's forget that, because none of it matters. Those little bit of complaints, the second half ricks that we had, let's forget about them, because ultimately no, the performance wasn't perfect, but 3 wins in a week, that is perfect. That is exactly what we needed to see. We are now outside the relegation zone, and not just outside it. Yes, it's only 2 points, but it's about 5 teams now. We are above and climbing this division. Let's not get carried away. Let's not talk about it. But it is 3 wins in a row. It is 9 goals scored, and we are looking up, and I love to see that. That is a fantastic week. We've now got a week off. We get to rest. This has been hectic in terms of going from Wednesday to Wednesday night to Saturday afternoon. That is a hell of a schedule that we have come through with flying colours. Let's hope we keep this going. It's Stoke next week, so let's take a breath. Let's get ourselves ready, and let's go for 4 in a row. Let's keep the positivity flowing. Up the Blades. Ole, ole, ole. Ole, ole.